All right, Geek Stackers. So we are fresh off of MegaCon Orlando, and I'm here to say it was a good one.
Pretty mega.
All right, so we are fresh off of MegaCon. So first initial thoughts. What do you think? How was it? How
It's
was your
always a good time
experience?
at MegaCon. I've been there like I guess four times now. Always great. It is huge now. It was big before. It is stupid big now. I think it was like 280,000 people there.
Yeah, I don't know
That's
what the
pretty
number. Where'd
crazy.
you get that number from? Who?
The dude from the Discord server for MegaCon.
Oh, was that the dude that was in that panel with us?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's the MegaCon Discord server admin. And yeah,
Okay.
280,000 people showed up
That's
this year.
crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, so it was overall a good experience. I wanted to go to the Todd McFarlane and Frank Miller panel, but we wind up waiting in line to see Star Wars
Star
Theory
Wars
for
Theory.
like 2 hours. It was
But his
crazy.
line was that long from the moment we got there even after we left the line at like 6, it was still that long. Because I
Yeah,
remember
it
we
was
passed
crazy.
that line and I was like, man, I wonder what this line is for. And we come back trying to go see Star Wars there. We're like, man, it'd be crazy if this giant line was for him.
And
No,
it
that
was for
giant
him.
line was for him.
And
And
it
like
it took a while.
it was that line, the Todd McFarlane line, like outside of not counting the celebrity lines, that was the longest line.
Yeah, I think so. If I had to judge just by just looking at what we saw, I think the Todd McFarlane line was the longest line. Like when, so we
I think the Avatar: The Last Airbender cast lines were pretty long too.
okay, yeah. I didn't think
There's a
about that.
lot of I
Yeah,
think because
I didn't
I
think
was
about
looking at
that.
all the lines because
Yeah,
I was peeping all the lines. They were all pretty long.
yeah,
That's why I said
they
outside of the
were.
celebrity lines.
They were. Good
That
point.
was because we were like trying to trek through there, and it's
So when
yeah
we got there really early. I want to say we were
at like
probably
7.
yeah, because we stood in line for at least an hour before they were letting people in. We wanted to get there early so we can park because I already knew. I was like, parking is gonna be madness.
It was
I
still madness even though we got there early.
It was. And the thing is, we didn't realize how many people showed up after we showed up. Cause so we got there, we went to the Rippaverse booth. By the way, I'm gonna say, I think the team at the Rippaverse are probably the most personable
It's like
in comics.
it doesn't
Period.
make sense how personable they are. I'm like, oh, they're chill.
So
It's
and you would think so. Okay, with that, you would think okay, so maybe they're not gonna have that many people come up. No,
nah,
no.
and they were personable with every single person that done went up.
I don't know how they had the
And
energy for all of that.
they had a massive, and they're. I'm not gonna say who, but you know who I'm talking about. There was a comic book artist we kind of walked past, and he just
Yeah,
seemed
I won't mention them for obvious
he
reasons. So
seemed drained. I'm
so
like,
you
dang.
pointed something out to me that I didn't notice. So it's a comic book artist that I really respect, especially right now. And he seemed disconnected. But then you brought up a good point. You said, well, this is not his creation. He's drawing this for it's one of the big two. And really, they're probably not paying him much. Just from what I know about Marvel and DC, they're probably not paying him much.
Right.
And so he's probably doing this to supplement income, going to cons, talking to who knows how many fans. And so I will give him this. There was a dude that brought his art up earlier in the day. And he was
He
actually,
was talking with him
yeah,
for like
talk,
37
yeah,
minutes.
yeah. So I gotta walk back my statements and give him some
And it's
respect. I
something I
can
think you also got to take into account, and I think you probably understand this. A lot of nerds are introverted, so it's like
very
their
true,
social batteries are pretty short. Like not everybody's like me, where their social battery is just
very true,
constant all the time, right? And
very true.
I think being someone who's extroverted, who's a nerd, right? I can recognize that. I can be like, you know what? Yeah, they're not gonna be as sociable as me, or vice versa, because it's like they have a social battery and they're gonna get that at some point. It doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter what they're doing. They're
Right,
gonna get to a point where they're like, I'm not talking to anyone.
right. I'm done. I'm done with all this language and word stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it did seem like he was kind of done with all the language and word stuff. But I mean, overall, that was my first MegaCon, not my first comic convention, but MegaCon, and I believe they said while we were there that it is now the largest
The
comic
largest comic convention
convention.
in North
And yeah,
America. Yep.
so that would mean, and I didn't fact check this. This was said while we were there. I want to say it was said over the PA as well.
Yeah.
I think so. So I didn't fact check it. As far as I know, MegaCon is bigger than
mean,
San Diego
It
Comic
doesn't
Con
help that
at this
everybody's
moment.
moving out of San Diego.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the numbers are for people, leaving San Diego or not leaving San Diego. I'm not really sure, but I have seen images of San Diego Comic Con, and I want to say this definitely rivals that.
I think the only other con that definitely has more people by a similar margin is this New York Comic Con.
And I don't think just because I know how big the Jacob Javits Center is, it's big. Don't get me wrong, it's big, but you don't have as much real estate as you do. So for those of you who don't know, the what is it called? Orange County Convention Center in Orlando is the second largest
Yeah.
convention center in the country. It
It's
is
massive.
massive. Like you
massive.
don't understand how
we
big
didn't even
this
get
is.
to the, like, every time I've been to MegaCon, I never really saw all, like, everything because it's just that big.
Yeah, and I don't know if I have the bandwidth to do 4 days at MegaCon. I'm not gonna lie.
I think if I didn't have anything else to do the week after that, I
Yeah.
would. But
Yeah.
it's
There was a surprisingly, to my surprise, there's a lot of people there. And randomly, we're standing in line to see Star Wars Theory, and randomly Ron Howard walks past us.
Yeah, I didn't even notice. He just walked past like a normal human being. I'm like,
You are Ron Howard.
Bro.
Do you not know who you are? Like you can't just be walking past
it
like
was,
that.
It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think talking to I got to get Star Wars Theory actual name. I heard somebody say his name before. I can't remember what it is, but so I think that there is a shift. I think there's a shift from the mainstream entertainment industry of old to the mainstream entertainment industry of now.
Well, and it's funny because he has as many, if not more, followers in the Star Wars channel on YouTube,
Which is crazy. How many
my
followers
goodness.
does he have?
That I think it's like 7 million. Or subscribers. Sorry,
Or subscribers, yeah.
he has 3.3 million subscribers.
Okay, so let's see. Let me check the official Star Wars
I
channel.
think they got 2.5. But his name is, I can see why he goes by Star Wars Theory. His name is Neatus Dadbe.
So Star Wars has 4.1 million.
That's a pretty
So-
similar number.
Yeah. So he's up there. He is if I'm not mistaken,
He's the
am I
most
mistaken?
popular Star Wars YouTuber.
Yeah, okay. I wanted
That's
to make
him.
sure
Yeah.
I got that right. And his sabers are parallel
So
to none.
it's funny because before I knew about him, I knew about his lightsabers, like years before I knew about him.
Which is crazy.
Because I was looking up like how to like lightsabers to get, because I was thinking about getting the ones from Disney, and I'm like, man, that's $370. I gotta see. And
Yeah.
Theory sabers came up. Well, you can get a Theory saber that's 20 times better than the sabers you get from Disney for like half the price,
Which
And
is wild.
and
Which
they're
is
good.
wild.
And I'd heard about them, and they're really sturdy. You can use them to actually duel. So it's like the fact that I knew about that before I knew about him. Then I started watching his channel. And he's like, "Yeah, go ahead and subscribe and get yourself a Theory saber today." I'm like,
Wait a minute.
"It's the same dude.
What is going on?
It's
Yeah.
the same dude." But that just goes to show, if you put love into something, it's gonna be successful. Because I know Star Wars Theory really does love Star Wars.
Yeah, he's talked about it. He did a video where he talked about the first time he saw Star Wars. I believe it was with his dad, and he just talked about. I think he was like in middle school, and going back and watching some of the original movies, and just getting deep into the lore and making videos. Not even really. I don't think he had any intention of being like a YouTube celebrity, because look. That line,
He's
I
a
don't think
YouTube
you
celebrity.
understand
He's a YouTube celebrity.
this line. And again, this is where the old guard has missed something. They've lost something. We watch standing in line for 2 hours. We watch Star Wars Theory be personable, present, and interact
everyone
with
he talks to.
every
I would like to
single
say
solitary
I embarrassed
person.
myself front of Star Wars Theory.
Oh man.
Because I look, I was drained by that time of the day.
Yeah.
That's not an excuse though. He said, and so it begins, and I'm like, what? That's from Star Wars 3. As soon as we walked away, I put two and two together, and I'm
here's
like,
what happened. So let me tell you the story. So we're walking away, and he was like, "Why?" I wonder why he said, "And so it begins." When I asked him to sign my lanyard, I said, "Isn't that a Star Wars quote?" And you were like, "Oh, wait, yeah. How did I miss that?"
I was so embarrassed. I'm like, bro, probably thinks I don't even watch Star Wars. I was so embarrassed because that's from Star Wars 3. That's from Star Wars 3. I'm like, there's no way.
How did I not
embarrassed myself so horrendously in front of the biggest Star Wars YouTuber.
Look, we had
it's
been
not
walking
a big deal, but I'm just like,
in line,
man.
And see, and there was the thing that is the impression I have on my mind now. That was my first MegaCon. Is I don't really have any desire to go to San Diego Comic-Con. Like, and the fact that the big two are not at Orlando Comic-Con, they're going to have to rectify that at some point.
I don't think they will. I don't think they're smart enough to realize
they might not be. They might not be.
Sometimes, I think Jim Lee did come to MegaCon a few years ago. I think it's before you had moved to this area. So but yeah.
Which is unfortunate because Jim Lee, I'm telling you, if I find out Jim Lee, I'm not a huge fan of paying hundreds of dollars to get autographs, but if Jim Lee shows up, I'm clearing my bank account.
Being dropped,
and
a few bills not getting paid.
Them X-Men #1, books is getting signed for real.
So cool.
That's happening for sure. Absolutely, that's happening.
Yeah.
But overall, my experience there was very good. The amount of celebrity artists that were there was actually kind of shocking.
And people didn't know who they were looking. I'm like, Jorge Jimenez was there. I don't know where he was, though.
Yeah, I didn't see him.
I didn't end up seeing his booth.
Actually, speaking of you saying people didn't know, so somebody tweeted at me, or X posted.
No,
I don't know
tweeted. I don't care what anybody says. I'm still saying tweet.
And it was, hold on, I'm trying to find it because he was talking about an artist that he walked right by and didn't see. Hold on. He responded right here. Cause when he said it, I was like, man, I understand there was so many people there. Where is it? Cause there was an artist that he mentioned. He was like, I walked right by him and it didn't click that it was him until I walked by. Oh yeah. He said, dude, I had a long week and was so tired that I saw Jim Starling sitting at his booth, just chilling, and didn't talk to him. I only clicked later and was like, and then he posted that meme.
There's no way.
He was so bad.
It's weird because the last, or not last, I guess 2 MegaCons ago, I met Keith Williams, one of the people who did a lot of the older 80s Wolverine stuff.
Yeah,
Wolverine versus Spider-Man.
That's
stuff.
Crazy.
I was like, what the heck? What is he doing here? But it's very easy to miss because they have so many people there, and I think it's a good thing.
Yeah,
I think it's a good thing. I think that a lot of people are moving to this part of the country anyways.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, hey, we should probably start, upping the amount of people because Greg Capullo was there.
Which is crazy.
That is
crazy.
That is ridiculous.
What's her name? The one actress that we walked past that we both
from Gotham?
Yeah, from Gotham.
What was her name? It was Gordon's wife from Gotham. Yeah, I was like, nah, Gordon fumbled. I don't care how crazy she is.
She's a very pretty woman. Very pretty woman. I don't remember what her age is, but she's just one of those people that she's not just pretty on camera. Like when you see her in person.
Yeah, I think when we walked past, I was like, goodness gracious.
Yeah. So I was shocked.
Top tier human being.
So when I was living in Northwest Florida, I went to Pensacon, which was actually a pretty nice size, right, for the Pensacola area. And they had some celebrities there. I remember they had the cast of Game of Thrones. It was pretty huge. This is when Game of Thrones was still going. They had the cast of Stranger Things there.
Like I remember that. Matarazzo and
yeah, there was a lot of people there. Nice. But the difference is MegaCon, there were so many celebrity artists, writers, and just it was almost like an overload. Like, I don't know where to go first.
Yeah.
We wanted to go. There was a panel with Todd McFarlane and Frank Miller that we didn't get a chance to go to. We were standing in line to talk to Star Wars Theory Sabers, which, I explained. I was like, you know what? I can watch online and see the video of the conversation that Todd McFarlane and Frank Miller had. Of course, it would have been great to see them in person, but I'm pretty sure it was packed and there was no way I was going to get to. Yeah.
I'm just glad we got into the Rippaverse because it picked as soon as we got there. Literally, I think like 30 minutes after we got there, it picked up. It picked up and it didn't stop.
Yeah, so we got there really early, got to meet the Saska sisters when they showed up.
They are incredibly nice, by the way. Like this is gonna sound bad. They don't look as nice as they are.
They are super
so weird.
duper nice. And the thing is, this is what will shock you. And I know I've said this already, but I don't think you understand the magnitude. Okay, so we were talking to them and they said the first Comic-Con or MegaCon, they gave them a very small booth.
And they complained about how many people were showing up.
So they gave them a bigger booth this time.
And the lines
were steady.
Brandon was saying they still got a complaint from MegaCon about how many people were showing up. I'm like, what do you want them to do? Give them a bigger line.
Right. And they said they had asked for them to give them a corner so that they wouldn't, impede anyone else. I guess they didn't look. A lot of people, they can hate on the Rippaverse.
Numbers don't lie.
When we were in MegaCon, 200-something thousand people, we saw Rippaverse hats and shirts.
Literally the first 10 minutes we were there, 2 people asked us, "Oh, Eric Delay." They're like, "Yeah, you gonna get your stuff signed?" I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, "What the heck?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Wow, I didn't know."
Unexpected.
Very unexpected.
Yeah, and there was a lot of people
when we were in the Star Wars theater. I think 3 people came up to us asking where the Rippaverse what's it called? Booth was.
Yeah.
I'm like, man,
people were looking. So
it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. I think as a company, I think they have what these other companies had from the start. They understand the value in building a rapport with the fans.
You know what it reminds me of?
What does it remind you of?
Old Bungie.
Ooh, I remember Old Bungie.
They're very involved with their fan base, even after and when Halo 3 was coming out.
Yeah, and that's how, really and truly, that's how it should be across the board. It should always be that way.
They have community managers now, but it's obviously different.
It's not the same.
It's it's the reason why a lot of people like college football more than they like professional football, because people seem more accessible. They're more personable, And it obviously maybe it shouldn't be that way, but it's once you get to a certain modicum of fame, it's unavoidable.
Right. So I got to another cool thing, and this is the thing I like about cons is sometimes there's books that you cannot find, and there's a few
number one.
Yeah, there's a few Ultimate Spider-Man books I'm missing, but hopefully, Lord willing, I'll pick those up at some point. But Absolute Batman, you absolutely cannot find in comic book store. They fly off the shelves.
Every time I've tried to find Absolute Batman number 1, it's nowhere. I found it today.
Yeah, and I got 2 and 3. I'm skipping 4.
I think everybody's skipping
sorry
4.
DC. I'm not buying that. I cannot take that art. It is too much of a difference.
Who were we talking to where they said it wasn't that bad?
Oh, we were in line. We were in line. Oh no, actually it was the dude. So the booth that we bought those comic books from, he was asking.
Oh wait, yeah, it was the dude. And I was like, no, bruh. And I literally said the scene where he's sitting there with the device trying to turn the truck off. You telling me that's good?
Yeah, I was like, I'm not buying that. I was like, I'll watch a video where
he's
somebody's
swerving and been in that corner for sure.
Yeah, okay. I was like, I will watch comics explain, go through that, because he has made a video on that, and Rob even commented. He was like, this art, it's a little jarring. It's a little jarring, but the lanyards they have
cool. They had
Absolute Batman on the lanyards, which I thought was pretty dope.
I actually got mine signed by Star Wars Theory.
Yeah, I think that for me, of course, it's the mainstream, so we know cons, they're always going to support the mainstream, but I think people recognize the prowess of Absolute Batman. And it's funny because I forgot, and I don't know how I forgot this. I forgot when I started reading Absolute Batman that Scott Snyder wrote The Court of Owls.
Yeah, it
And
was
like,
him,
and I
Greg
was like,
Capullo, and Mark Silverstreet.
I'm like,
He also
oh
wrote, I think Batman Eternal was him too. Like a lot of the good stuff that came out of like New 52 Batman, that was him.
yeah. I was
That
like,
was him.
of course. How could I forget this? Of
Scott
course,
Snyder
this is
is
good.
him, and
Yeah,
then who's the dude making
Jonathan Hickman.
Jonathan Hickman.
Yeah, Jonathan
Those
Hickman for
two
Ultimate Spider-Man. Yeah,
goaded,
yeah,
goaded.
doing his thing. And what I would like to say is, I think you tell me what you think about this. I think you can tell that there is a shift in the winds of control within entertainment in general. Not just in a geek space, just entertainment.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think
Well,
I think
you see it with the amount of money that's not going into these stupid movies.
yeah.
You see it in the fact
Yeah.
that a lot of, especially after recent events, I'm not gonna say what, a lot of people are pivoting. Like, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't X out an entire group of our fan base and call them stupid and hateful.
Right. And here's a good thing, man. So we met a guy that just got into comic books.
Oh yeah, I
This
didn't know.
had
Yeah,
a great conversation
you
standing
should
in
have
line.
you should have got his info.
I should have. I wasn't thinking about it. We were standing
should
in
have got the info
line.
of the two guys that we were talking to too. I
We
forgot
should
about
have.
it.
We should have. It was, the conversations were so good. Nobody. This is the thing. Nobody was on their phones, other than we were trying to look up stuff.
Yeah, but there was no service
Yeah,
anyway, so
yeah.
you had
Yeah,
to
you
talk to
couldn't find
people.
So we were all talking about comic books, what we like, what we don't like,
Star Wars,
and many of, like, we had varying opinions, like varying opinions.
there was that one dude,
and
he
nobody
thought,
was mad.
what did he say? He thought that new Suicide Squad game was good. I'm like, nah, you're tweaking.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
the only person that plays that game.
Yeah,
There's
ain't
no
nobody
way.
playing that. But it was really good. So the gentleman who just got into comic books, I was able to recommend
Court of the Owls.
Court of
and Night
Owls.
of the Owls.
So he actually, which is wise on his part. I don't know if he did this on purpose, but his entry point to comic books was Invincible and other independent comics. And I told him, I was like, that's probably the best way to get in, because if you tried to get into either Marvel or DC,
It's
you
hard.
would not know where to start.
It's hard. I think because I posted a video about this on like this very channel where it's like, if you really want to get into comic books and it's like the big two, choose a storyline you find interesting and just follow that.
Right.
And that's the best way to go, because
Right.
trying to keep up with all the continuity is
That's
it's
why
exhausting.
That's
It's
why we got
exhausting and
Comics
expensive.
Explained.
That's why we
got
had,
Comic
well,
Explained and Comic Story.
we did that comic story. I
Yeah.
mean, his catalog
Rest
is
in
pretty
peace to
deep.
him.
But
Yeah. But again, so I recommended to this gentleman Batman Court of Owls. I was like, if you want to start, for me,
Oh my
if you're gonna
gosh.
start reading DC comic books, my humble opinion, you start with Batman. That's my opinion.
I think that's fair. You could start with there's some good Superman stories. I have
wouldn't
become a better
disagree.
fan of Superman, and that's only because Superman and Lois. I'm not
Okay.
even gonna lie. Superman and Lois has
Okay.
convinced me. I'm like,
I
you know
can-
what?
I can understand.
Superman's an all right guy. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I think
can understand.
Batman's a good entry point. It's really interesting to see what's going on in the geek space, where you see stuff like Rippaverse. And even at the panel they were having, where they're like, hey, like, the old guard is dying. We need more people who want to be creative and make their own things to kind of
Right.
put their foot out there to become like the new trailblazers in that particular space.
That's
So,
a fact. And I will tell you right now that my conversations with everyone at that Rippaverse booth was not quick, and the lines were very large,
lines were long.
and everyone treated you, and they treated everyone the same way. They were very
I think
present.
the Sasuke sisters were like, I'm like, they hadn't even finished their rebels. I'm like, where's all this energy coming from?
Yeah. They were full
It
of
was
energy.
crazy.
I don't know how Brandon, that dude was all
Brandon
over
was
the
all over the
place.
place. Was it Adam?
India Andrew.
India Andrew.
India Andrew was
Andrew
there.
was actually really cool. I hope that we can get him on the channel for an
Yeah.
interview. He was actually really cool, because I was asking him about like what his favorite parts of working for the Rippaverse was, and he seemed to be able to pontificate his point very well. And I'm
He's
like,
a
wow.
comic book guy. He is
yeah.
and this is what I'm finding out. What the Rippaverse has done, like I don't know everybody's background, but I'm almost positive everybody there, they're comic book people. Like, these are people that are interested in comic books. No matter what their job is, they're all interested in comic books. And so to me, that fosters a good environment. Now, I'm not saying you have to have necessarily a comic book person at every facet of a company. Obviously, there's going to be jobs that don't require a comic. Your accountant doesn't have to be a comic book person.
Right.
So I understand that, but I'm just getting at the point that the people in the positions that matter toward the creation of the comic books are comic book people. This
Well, and
Marvel, DC,
it's the passion. Oh my god, it's the passion that they have. Like listening to them talk about their own comic books, even comic books that they like. I'm like, oh my goodness,
these
this is
people
what's
love
been missing.
comic books.
And I'm thinking about, this is off topic on topic, but I'm thinking about reassessing stuff and how I'm doing things and doubling down on Binary Byte. That's my game company, and I really want to just go all in, just do my thing. I think the passion is the most important part when it comes to artistic endeavors, and I think that
you have to love what you
all
do.
the geek stuff, whether it be gaming, like obviously it's more of like an engineering based thing, but it's an art as well. Like it's whether it be gaming, comic books, movies, it is all art, and art. The greatest forms of art all required passion, right?
Yeah, people were actually interested in what they were doing.
I don't think AI will ever overtake art at any facet.
No, I don't think so. And I know that's a big fear. Now, I'm not saying AI will not encroach on the artist space, but there's something that AI just can't duplicate.
Yeah.
And can't replicate when it comes to like human expression. And I've seen AI try.
And it just, you can always tell it's inauthentic, and it pales in comparison to someone making a film or someone making a story that's able to resonate with other people because they've lived through that.
Yes.
Right? Collective experience of what you've gone through and being able to impart that on someone else, that's not something AI can ever be able to do. People are like, well, it can get close. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. Close isn't there.
Yeah. Just because something can get close doesn't mean it's going to be the actual thing. Doesn't
I can
mean
mimic a football player. It doesn't make me a football player.
Right. 100%.
Yeah.
I think walking through that con, for anybody that thinks the geek space is dead or dying, I'm here to tell you that maybe interest has shifted. I can tell you for a fact that anime's
taken over.
I'm not gonna say it's.
I'm saying it's taking.
Eric
July agrees with me.
I'm not gonna say it's taking over because that would imply that comic books are gone. I will say it's taken the lion's share, like the biggest portion of the fandom. Because walking around, you saw a lot more anime cosplay than you saw comic book cosplay, and I mean maybe that's always been the case. You know, I haven't gone to like thousands of cons like some people, so maybe
I think it's always been pretty equal. But I think people in my generation are more interested in manga and anime than they are in comic books, because comic books are so confusing and it's very hard to follow the story.
Yeah,
manga, it's one story, and then I am so glad. I don't know who that dude was, but the dude that suggested Eric July do something similar to Shonen Jump for comic books. That is such a great idea.
Yeah, and you could tell he was definitely like huh.
I was like, oh my gosh, that actually is a perfect idea. Like putting that in the Rippa, so like making a Rippa-zine specifically for putting on indie creators and showing like a chapter or two of their comic book. Now, and if it's well received, being like, we're going to publish this.
And here's the thing. I know especially with Kanan White's eye, and I know the quality that the Rippaverse has put out. I know they're only going to show quality stuff because there's a lot of comic books in the independent space
that kind of stuff
that I've seen, and I'm like, I applaud your effort. I definitely applaud your effort, but whoever that artist is needs some more work.
So, yeah, but I also think it depends on like the art style that the artist is going for. Like, I think that if you were to read something like Black Science, I think you'd like the story, but you wouldn't really like the art too much because it's somewhat unique in how they draw it.
But see, I think there's a difference between unique and you're not at the level.
It's
yet
like
to
unique and
finish
then Absolute Batman #4.
Exactly. Exact point. Like I was showing my youngest daughter. I showed her Absolute Batman 1, 2, and 3, and she was like, "Oh, that's good art." When I showed her Absolute Batman #4, she laughed hysterically.
Looks like I drew it.
She was like, "What is this? Is this for this serious?" I was like, "As a heart attack, they published this, sent it to print, put it out. An editor looked over this. look, I get it, man. Nobody wants to tell an artist their work isn't good. And I don't know the gentleman who drew it, from what I hear watching other streams, he actually does really good work. I looked up his Instagram page actually, went to it, looked through some of his stuff. Some of it is good. Some of it, like, you know how some people just don't draw certain things well, and I think maybe that's what it is with him. Like, some things he drew, I was like, oh, this is dope, and then some other things I'm like,
Yeah.
nah, maybe you just stay away from
And you
this.
can't really, I don't think you can really blame the artist too much, because instead of waiting for Dakota
Dragoda. Yeah.
to kind of have more free time, I'm like, let's just get it out. Anyways.
Unless they just, like, I don't know the circumstances. I don't know
if Absolute Batman #5 has a different artist. It's not Dragoda.
It can't.
That thing is going. That thing is going triple plastic.
Yeah, it can't. They got to bring Dragoda back.
Quadruple plastic.
That would be like the next 5 issues of Ultimate Spider-Man is not Marco Cicchetto. That would be a problem.
So there was an art change actually in issue 6,
but it was good.
It wasn't jarring.
Good. Right, it was good.
It wasn't like someone punched me in the face.
The only difference, I'd say, the only difference I noticed in that issue between the artists, Cicchetto has more detailed line work, and this artist had
a little more abstract,
a more muted detail.
Well, and it seemed like it was more still, like watercolor-ish.
Yeah, but it was still
still good.
And I noticed this. Looking at, and I never paid attention to this. I think I mentioned this to you. I noticed why I don't like certain art forms. Me and my youngest daughter were talking about this a few days ago, because I went back in my mental Rolodex and went back looking through some books, and I actually went back to some older books. I went back to like the Fantastic Four #1, and I'm like, this art is actually good, and it's an older style, but I can enjoy this. What is it about certain art? And I realize some artists do not know how to do proportions correctly
for bodies specifically,
and their shapes are not symmetrical, and my eye notices that, and I can't unsee it, and thus I'm just like, I don't like this. I don't like I cannot enjoy this. It is not symmetrical, it is not proportion right, and I cannot enjoy this. So I really think that's what it is. So
my question to you would be, right, who are some artists, not Jim Lee, from the newer generations, that you would say are probably like trailblazing in a sense of like they are keeping that torch of having very detailed art with good proportions that makes you like have to do a double take?
Will Conrad, which is not necessarily a new artist. He did Gooding. Deborah Carita.
Yeah, she's good.
New artist this generation.
I'd say within the last like 20-ish years, so like from 2012.
So some of these artists, I don't know when they started, so they might have started way back in the day. I'd say Dragoda. He's
really good.
Doing good. Cicchetto, obviously. Cicchetto's older, but I don't know when he started.
I think Mark Silverstreet started later too, but I could be wrong.
No, Mark Silverstreet, he was around when I was young. He's been around for a while. Yeah. Mark Silverstreet's been in the game for a while. Mark Silverstreet, Brett Booth, Todd McFarlane, Scott Williams, Jim Lee. Did I say Brett Booth? Yeah, Rob Liefeld. All of these guys, they were Wills Portaccio, he's another one way back in the day. Them dudes start way back in the day. But newer artists, Alpha Core. Why can't I remember his name now?
Not Chuck Dixon.
No, not Chuck Dixon. He's the writer.
I think I was seeing it.
Joe Bennett.
Joe Bennett. Yeah, Joe Bennett's good. Joe
Bennett.
Bennett's been on a lot of stuff.
But
though.
he's kind of not new, because he's been around for
at
quite
least
a while.
20 years, since the early 2000s.
Yeah, I think so. And
Which
I think
the fact
he might
that's
have been
20
around,
years ago is kind of crazy.
I think he might have been around even before then. I think he might have been doing this since the late 90s, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to check. But
that's pretty cool though. But I think there's a lot of artists people maybe don't know about. Like you see like a lot of the Silverline artists that people don't really know about.
Newer artists.
I honestly think that Silverline should change how they sell their books so it's easier for people to be like, hey, go buy them here. Because I found out how to buy them, but it's like such a gregarious process. I'm like,
yeah,
they gotta lock in.
Yeah, because there was a bunch of books I wanted to buy from Silverline, and I ended up not buying because at the time I was busy at work, and I was looking into, okay, how do I buy the books? Where do I find them? And I finally just kind of gave up, which is unfortunate because I really like Silverline comics. I think Silverline comics they're not necessarily trying to compete with Marvel
Marvel and
or
DC.
DC.
You're gonna say Apple and Android.
Yeah, I think they're trying to start from the ground up. You can tell their artists are newer. Their artists aren't necessarily like they're not like Brett Booth,
Right.
but they're good. But they're really good artists. They're better than that art from Absolute Batman #4. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, that's not
I'm
that hard.
sorry, but
I think if you
Absolute
gave me like
Batman
3 months of
#4
practice, I could probably make some better art.
And to his credit, I think his name is Walter. Who drew
He was
that.
probably rushed. He was probably rushed. I'm not gonna lie.
Like I said, I looked at his Instagram, and he actually has really good art on his Instagram page. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure
It
what
could
happened.
be a situation where they were like, "Hey, what's it? Dragoda can't
Nick
draw
Dragotta.
today, so I'm gonna give you 2 days to draw this whole thing."
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
That might
'cause
have been
was
what
not-
that might have been what ended up happening. And it's like, because I never blame the artist. No, I never blame the architect for what the contractor wanted to do.
I see what you're saying.
Like,
I see what you're saying.
I'll
Like,
never blame a developer for what the producer probably wanted them to do. I'll never blame an artist for what the director of the book probably wanted them to do. It's always higher up, which sucks that most people don't realize that. People will blame an artist for something, or they'll blame a developer for something. I'm like, okay, well,
Right.
if you really understand it, it's not really that. It's
Yeah.
a trickle down effect, you know?
Yeah, it is what it is. You can't. There's nothing we can do about this. This is the way this dude wanted this. He's the one paying. I can't tell him no. Do it this way.
Right.
He's paying for it. This is how he wants it.
What do you think were your favorite parts of MegaCon first
Ooh.
visit?
My favorite parts of MegaCon. I think the Geeks and Gamers panel was interesting because you like sometimes you watch a person on YouTube and you get a sense of who they are, but there is something different about being face to face with a person like Critical Drinker. First of all,
Critical Drinker's
tall.
hilarious. He's
And
tall.
he's tall, like a lot taller than
Bro
you
is
think.
actually pretty. Yeah, he's a tall dude.
Yeah.
He's hilarious though.
And you
Also, the glasses never come off. I just want to put that out.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
saw him. We were in a dark room. Zero light glasses were
He had the
still
glasses
on.
on.
I was like, this
Yeah.
is crazy.
Yeah, the glasses on. But that panel for me was probably one of the best moments. Hearing those guys talk in person. A lot of the stuff I've heard before is there's something different about being in the presence of a person when they're saying certain things and the way. I got one for you. You see the hat I got on, You see the shirt,
You see
Yaira.
the shirt?
For all the hate Eric July gets, there will be someone in this video that will say in the comments, I'm almost guarantee he's a con man. He is this. He is that. If you ever get the chance to meet and talk with Eric July, here's what you will notice right out the gate. He is present in that conversation. He is not absent. He's not thinking about anything else. He's thinking about the conversation he's having with you. He is truly humbled that people like the thing he's created. He is gracious to the fans. He is listening to the fans. For all the people that say he can't take critique, I'll tell
Marvel
you,
DC take notes.
I'll tell you what Eric July doesn't take. Eric July doesn't take visceral hatred. And people say, oh, he can't take critique. Yo, if you just bombing on me every day with visceral hatred, no, I'm not going to take that.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not going to take
There's a
that.
difference between
Like,
critiquing and just spitting vitriol.
right. And that's what a lot of people do. But that getting to physically be in his presence and talk to him, I was like, this dude is the next big thing in comics.
I feel like
he's the next big thing.
people keep telling him this, and it feels like even when you were telling him, it feels like he doesn't even know it.
Yeah,
It feels like he's like, well,
bro,
you know, we'll see. I'm like, nah,
like, bro, you
it's a matter of time.
Yeah, you are the next big thing in comics. And
Yeah.
and I said 4 or 5 years, I could be wrong. 4 or 5 years, we will look back on this moment and we will go, man, this is where this guy who was complaining about comic books said, I'm gonna do something about
Somebody's
it.
like, do it yourself.
And
he's
he
like, all
did.
right.
And he did. And people still complain, which is hilarious.
Well, and it, you know, something else that I'm noticing, because I asked him a question about this twice. You know, I'll bring it up. It's a possible video game. And he's like, in the panel, he kind of like slipped around the answer a little bit. Like, yeah, I've talked to a few people about it. I think it'd be cool, but I don't think so. And then when I talked to him about it personally, I don't know if it would matter if I said, he was like, well, I've talked to a few people, consulted some people back and forth, and we've talked about it. It's
an expensive venture.
It is.
To do it correctly.
To do it right, it is expensive. It's a less expensive than all of these AAA game developers think it is, but it's definitely
it's not
gonna be cheap.
Yeah, you gonna put up some jack. I think it would probably take a couple years, and I think the animated series would probably go before the games. For me, that kind of makes more sense. Yeah. Yep. But he needs more subscribers to the website. But he, again, especially on my personal YouTube channel or my comic book YouTube channel, The Thinkening, for those who don't know, people wonder why, and I explained this to him, people wonder why I cover this company so much. And here's why. The mainstream comic book press, other than CBR, I actually found out that CBR actually has some articles on Eric July. I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, you found that a week ago?
Yeah, so, and some of them they had like last year. Some of them like a year and a half ago. I had no idea because I guess I really didn't check CBR, but when the Rippaverse dropped, ISOM #1 dropped, I checked every mainstream comic book site I knew of.
It is the highest selling African-American comic book of all time.
I don't know if that's true. I haven't checked the numbers. I don't know. I haven't checked all the stats. I will say this. He's doing numbers consistently. Like in independent comics right now.
Every time he drops something new, it's at least 1 million people buying.
No, he's not selling that much, but he's moving. If he drops a book, it's rare that I don't know if any of his books have done under 100,000. I don't think any of them has done under 100,000, which for the big two, that's really much. But for an independent company that started 2 years ago, and they already have ISOM #1, ISOM #2, Yaira #1, Gooding, 2 Rippazines,
Alpha
Core, Bloodruth, Saoirse is in the Rippazines. So that's 8 books out already in 2 years, independent company. And he started a publishing house, Rippa Sin, and he's put out Achromatic Chronicles, Blue and Green, which I was talking to the artist and he was explaining to me the premise of that story. And I might have to buy those books.
Dang.
It's like I'm
family excited
book
for the separation or the War of Separation.
War of Separation, yes. The Great War of Separation.
Because some of that stuff was mentioned in Alpha Core and sprinkled a little bit in ISON. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, and
like, wait.
The opening to Gooding, that opening letter from Mike Barron, he mentioned something about that Great War of Separation and how the country's broken into, I think it's seven different factions.
It kind of reminds me of what is going on in the Ultimate Universe. A little bit. You think they pocket watching?
I don't think so. I don't think so because I think the Ultimate Universe is kind of doing something different. Definitely different than what the Rippaverse is doing. It's definitely not. It's similar.
It's similar in the sense that everything's separated.
Everything's separated.
Speaking conjecture, honestly.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's pocket watching. I think there are 2 separate directions.
But I'm excited to see, and I was talking with Andrew about this as well, where the canon is solidified. Like anybody that dies, they're dead,
gone.
And the fact that they're like, no, we need to make sure this makes sense because there's so much that happens in comic books that will retcon certain things unintentionally that happened a long time ago.
This in here, but back then you said this.
So I think that the consistency with canon is going to be a big deal, and that's why I don't care that they're releasing stuff so slowly because they want to make sure that it fits.
And by slowly, he's talking about 80+ page books in.
I guess that's true. Yeah,
in 2 years,
they put a lot. They put a lot in the books. Yeah, but I'm like when I'm done with the book, I'm like,
where's the next one? When you think about that, ISOM #1 could have been split into 3 different books.
Yes, they literally
#2, 3 different books.
Because that's like the amount of pages you get in like a monthly comic book is like what 15, 20 pages.
So I'd say probably 25 is probably average.
Yeah, 25, 26.
Yeah.
And they put 80. So they are pretty much
Yeah.
putting 4 months of stuff into one book.
Yeah. Yeah. And they've
pretty
already
good.
released 8 books at that
Yeah.
size. So that's
pretty good. But I'm not gonna lie. I'm not saying it out of like hatred. I'm saying it out of
No.
like I want to know
You
what
want
happened.
more. Yeah, you
like,
want more.
Alpha Core. Look, who's that? Who's the one dude?
the cop, the one who was the cop that
No,
stopped.
no, the one with the shades on, who came in and saved them like a few times. What was his name?
Shades on.
Oh my goodness, this is gonna.
Oh, you talking
aggravate
about
me. You know what I'm talking
Braxwell?
about? Yeah,
Yeah.
Braxwell. I need to know what's going on with him.
He that dude.
He's my favorite character
Yeah,
in
he
the
that dude.
comic book. I'm not gonna lie.
I think my favorite Rippaverse character right now, hands down, Yaira. I did not know it was gonna be Yaira, but it is Yaira. I'm telling you, when you read Yaira #1,
I have to now.
I think you're gonna be like, okay, I get it.
I gotta finish through Isom and Good because Gooding actually interests me a lot more than anything else outside of Alpha Core. I'm gonna be honest. I started it and I was like,
watch my 3 video breakdown, because I had someone tell me they didn't realize how much they missed in Gooding until watching my videos. They're like, I missed a lot.
Y'all don't know this. He was talking to the Saska sisters, the noble hierarchs of the Isom Rippaverse universe lore, and he was like, I don't think I can say it actually.
Well, I asked them, so I got a video where they had, I can't remember what they called it. It's a video on the Rippaverse YouTube channel. I can't remember what they're calling it, and they're gonna do it annually where they go over what's coming. So they got a book, 2 books coming, written by the Saska sisters individually. Each one of them, I think, Jin is doing Lillian Renashi, and Sylvia's doing Michael Copper, if I'm not mistaken. And so in that video, I kind of cover them talking about this, and just from what is being said in these videos, I gleaned certain things. And so they commented and they were like, we were like looking at your video like you are getting dangerously close.
He's gonna get sent a cease and desist. Yeah. Rippaverse gonna have to get their own Nintendo ninjas on him.
Like, hey, bro,
get a knock on the door. Like, hey,
we're gonna need you to slow down.
You to shut up real quick.
We're gonna need you to slow down. So, yeah, because I think, and the thing is, you only get something like that if there's meat to a story, and so in my Gooding breakdown, one of the so this is kind of what I do on my channel. I think there are things that are misunderstood. So I like sometimes covering those things. Gooding, I think it's a misunderstood book. And this is something I was explaining actually while we were in line. I believe Mike Barron and his writing style, and I think the Saskas did this a little bit in Yaira #1 as well, is they do like jump cut scenes, and I don't think people are picking up.
Who was talking about that? Was it the dude we were in line with?
Yeah, I was explaining that. I was like, I don't think people are picking up on that, but I think that's the approach they're taking. But when you look at how massive these books are and how much you're getting in these 1-issue books, you're getting a lot of info in these books, a lot more than you would get from another company.
On topic, off topic. I think I'm gonna do a Braxwell cosplay next con I go to.
Okay.
He's that guy. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
he is that guy. I like Braxwell because he doesn't. I want to know why he doesn't say anything. Did he lose his voice?
Maybe he's like, a character that just doesn't have to talk too much. You know, he's a man of action. Because you got Samurai Jack. He's kind of like that.
I think there's more to it.
They got to give him his own comic book. I'm not gonna lie.
There's more to it. You might get individual comic books from every member of the Alpha Core. I'm waiting for that. Horseman #1. That's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah, it's not out yet. It's the excitement for it. It's there though.
So the Horseman, great book. If you have not picked up the Horseman from the Rippaverse, I'm telling you, if you like the Punisher, imagine a Punisher with the training wheels off. Horseman.
The Punisher on more drugs.
Yeah, it's definitely it's not meant for a non-adult audience. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
They definitely get in. You know what? I appreciated something else I liked about the con. I really appreciated this. When we did walk by what I guess what they call the celebrity artists. So when we walk by those booths, which they really need to put Theory Sabers over there, he's celebrity. Like that dude is.
I don't think he'd want to.
He probably wouldn't. But
That's the
anyway,
thing.
I like the fact that I actually saw a lot of these artists. They were actually talking with the people. Like Todd McFarlane, I saw when he was doing his signatures and he was talking to people, smiling. You could see he was engaged. And I was like, you know what? I like seeing that. I like seeing that from OGs in the game that have been in the game for a while.
Well, because they care. And it's I will beat this horse until it's dead 2 times over on Wednesday. The passion that people have for this stuff is the reason that they're able to garner such a huge fan base. Like, you would think Todd McFarlane is like a deep cut comic book creator, but his line, I was like, nah, son. It was ridiculous.
Crazy.
It was ridiculous. I was like, dang, I didn't know people was locked in like I was. That's crazy.
It was crazy.
It was
I couldn't
actually
imagine.
crazy.
I couldn't imagine what, because I think Greg Capullo was there today, but I didn't see.
We didn't see it, but there were so many celebrity booths.
It was a
was
lot
like
going on.
They had the whole cast from Arrow. They
Yeah.
had the whole voice cast from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Steve Downs was there. We
Steve
didn't get
Downs
to
was
see
there.
him.
Oh,
Yeah.
because he wasn't there today. Because we walked by his booth and nobody was there.
I thought it said he
Or he might
wasn't
have been
gonna
on.
be there.
Yeah, he might have been on break.
He might have left. He might have left by that
but
time. I don't
it
know what
was
time he
it
gonna
was
be there.
so stacked. Like,
Yeah.
this is the most, like, last time I went to MegaCon, it was like 2-3 years ago. It was pretty stacked. But last year it was stacked. This year was even more stacked.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I think next year it's gonna be something wild. So I'm debating getting 2 days. Maybe I'll take like a week off after.
Next time I might save up some money and maybe just schedule a hotel right there and just stay there for 4 days and go. That's the only way I can do it.
Yeah.
Because I don't live far, but I just don't want to drive. And because you got to realize
Getting out and getting in
my
is
goodness.
it makes like a 40-minute drive to a 2-hour drive.
Getting out of the Orange County Convention Center. Once I got to my car, I parked literally in a lot right across the street. It took
Like 40 minutes?
30 or 40 minutes just getting like 3
Out of the
miles
vicinity.
away from
yeah.
Yeah.
To be able to actually start going the speed limit on the road you were on.
It was crazy. It was crazy. But people enjoyed themselves. It was a good. The one thing I can say, and I don't know if this is always the case. Well, I have never heard of drama at a con, like amongst fans.
Was there drama?
No. There was none. That's what I'm saying.
There was a dude that got carted off when we were in the Rippaverse.
Yeah, I
line.
think he hit his head.
He hit his head,
or
yeah.
something.
I was like, what the heck?
But there was 200,000 plus people they said was there.
I'm gonna be honest, nerds. There's not really much that's gonna go on. We're all pretty chill.
Yeah,
We're
excited.
trying to get our stuff signed by our comic
There was
books.
some gym brands or one gym
Civil
brand.
Regime.
Yeah, that was,
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm screaming. Sorry, I need to calm down. But Civil Regime, it has some creators on there that I actually like. Baj, Tommy, and there's another Tommy too. But I know all of them, and I was
Tommy.
because I think you saw it. Like when I was walking by, I saw Baj. I'm like, yo, because I went over there earlier, and I'm like, man, this is a cool brand because they're a gym brand,
Right.
and you don't see gym brands go to like comic book conventions very often.
Yeah, that was.
So when I saw them there, I was like, oh, that's so cool. And the dudes they were pretty cool. I mean, I know because I watch them pretty often. I know they're pretty nice dudes, but meeting them was dope.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
And it seems like a lot of people there knew who they were. And we were talking about. I'm like, people think geeks don't work out. Geeks work out. Yeah,
geeks do work out.
Maybe there was a time where that was the case, but not now.
Yeah, because Buddy made that joke. It's like, wait a minute, I'm roasting myself. He was like, one of the dudes. He was like, yeah, and everybody just sitting there eating Cheetos, watching anime. It's like, wait a minute, I was actually doing that the other day.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
He said he was eating his rice.
beef and rice.
Watching
watching all of it. Yeah. No, but it's man, it was cool. It was really cool meeting them. I've been a fan for a while.
Yes, yeah, that
it was cool. Civil Regime.
That was dope. A lot of good. Again, as I said earlier, one of the best things about going to a con is if there are issues of comic books that you have not been able to find.
You'll find them there.
You typically can find them there.
They probably hold them in the back of the store until they go to a con.
I'm sure they do. And there was some stuff that we saw like the sword that you were looking at, you're like,
I could get it, but I couldn't justify that
yeah,
purchase. I
it
would
was
buy it and
expensive.
I'd be like, why did I do this? I already have a sword.
Right, right. If I had the spare coin laying around, I would have bought a Theory Saber. I'd have bought
So
one of
you
those.
can get some for pretty decent prices that
Yeah,
are
I
crazy.
just right now, I can't
I'm
really
my
just
I'm my
justify.
bank account set up. I got
Yeah, yeah.
my check-ins
Got
and
my
my
checking and my
savings.
savings. But overall, if you live in the Central Florida area within
2
45
hours.
minutes or even 2 hours of the Orange County Convention Center in Orlando, I am telling you it is definitely worth
I
going.
think it's gonna be worse next year to get tickets.
Um
Unironically,
it might be and what's funny is, so if you purchase the tickets early enough, I
you
could
can
have
get
got.
all 4 tickets for $140.
Yeah, which you could have done that up until like a few days before, but I should have purchased my ticket for the Saturday that we went months ago because they were actually a lot
It
cheaper.
was like $20.
And I don't know if it was 20, but I know it was much cheaper, and I
Yeah,
don't know. I waited on it. But anyway, so what was your best part of the con? What would you say was the best part?
I would say meeting Eric July. The conversation I had with Adam or Andrew, sorry, the
Yeah.
conversation I had with Andrew when you were talking to the Sox, he was a cool guy.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't know the extent of everything that he did, but because I hear about Indie Andrew all the time, and I'm like, oh, this is the same dude.
Yeah.
But he just seemed like a cool guy, and I was like, yeah, I want to talk to this guy. Like, I want to ask him more questions about the Rippaverse. So I
Right.
was like, get him on an interview. That was cool. Also meeting the gym influencers that I followed. I was not expecting to see them there at all. I was like flabbergasted. Like, I think you remember when my
Yeah.
reaction was like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, like, bro, what? This is MegaCon. Are y'all in the right
Yeah.
place?
No, but it was really cool. And I think probably my favorite part was the interaction I had with other geeks. The amount of
Mm,
conversations we had throughout the day with other people who were geeks were all really cool.
yeah,
And
no
that's
doubt.
probably the part I enjoyed the most. At a time, I remember there was a time where being a geek was seen as lame and you were made fun of. And now, I mean, cons were always a place of like um refuge for geeks.
Yeah, I can see
So
that.
being able to go there and speak to other people that are also geeks is always very cool because it's like, oh, my people, you know.
Right, right.
Even
Definitely
though
a different
I
experience.
embarrassed myself horrendously in front of lights. Oh my gosh, bro, I
Yeah.
will
Well,
never live that
I
down.
mean,
That's crazy.
you didn't say anything, so it didn't look like,
No, I said what? He's like, oh, nothing. I was like, oh
oh, I
no.
didn't know you said what.
Yeah, I was
Oh
like, because
man.
when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, man,
Oh
if I
man, you
ever meet
just
him again, I gotta drop some like archaic line from the Clone
yeah, yeah,
Wars.
yeah, yeah. You got to go deep into the lore for that
Oh
one.
my goodness.
So yeah, that was it. That was our experience at MegaCon. Just wanted to do a quick video, talk about, what we saw when we were there. We were on our feet for a
11
long
hours, I
time.
think, just about.
We got there at 8 o'clock and we
Left
left
at around
there
6. So
6.
about,
Yeah,
yeah, about 11 hours.
6. It was quite the experience.
It feels like
6:30,
we
7. Yeah,
didn't do
really.
that much. We were always doing something the whole day.
Right, yeah. Walking to and
So
fro, seeing stuff, grabbing stuff. It was good. It was
yeah,
good. I enjoyed it.
I didn't spend too much money, so that was good. There was that sword booth I had to walk away from.
We
I was
didn't
about
go
to risk it for
crazy.
that sword.
So I would say if you were thinking about going to MegaCon at any point, I would not wait. I would go. You will not regret it.